Greetings students. Today we are going to learn about one of USA's leading steel company, United States Steel. Let us know this company in a much better way. The United States Steel Corporation, more commonly known as US Steel, is an integrated steel producer with major production operation in the United States, Canada and Central Europe. The company was the world's 13th largest steel producer in 2010. It was renamed USX Corporation in 1986 and back to United States Steel Corporation in 2001 when the shareholders of USX spun off the oil and gas business of Marathon Oil and the steel business of US Steel to shareholders. In 2001, it was still the largest domestically owned integrated steel producer in the United States, although it produced only slightly more steel than it did in 1902 after significant downsizing in the 1980s. US Steel is a former Dow Jones Industrial Average component listed from April 1, 1901 to May 3, 1991. It was removed under its USX Corporation name with Navistar International and Primerica. J.P. Morgan and the attorney Albert H. Gary founded US Steel in 1901, incorporated on February 25 by combining Andrew Carnegie's Carnegie Steel Company with Gary's Federal Steel Company and William Henry Judge Murray National Steel Company for $492 million. At one time, US Steel was the largest steel producer and largest corporation in the world. It was capitalized at $1.4 billion, making it the world's first billion-dollar corporation. At the end of the 20th century, the corporation found itself deriving much of its revenue and net income from its energy operation. So, led by CEO Thomas Archer, US Steel spun off Marathon and other non-steel assets company Transtar in October 2001 and expanded internationally for the first time by purchasing operations in Slovakia and Serbia. In the early 2010s, US Steel has invested hundreds of millions to upgrade software programs throughout their manufacturing facilities.
The longest and costliest strike in the history of the steel industry hit the United States economy in 1959. Hard negotiations for a new union contract began in May, with both sides more adamant than ever not to give ground. David McDonald, president of the United Steelworkers, talked for the union. R. Conrad Cooper, executive vice president of U.S. Steel, for the 12 steel companies involved. Neither at any time during 6 months of on-again, off-again negotiations would budge enough to allow a general settlement. In July, the steel industry across the nation banked its furnaces, turned off the vital flow of steel. 500,000 steel workers saw their last paychecks for at least 5 months. Many of the nation's auto plants closed down within a few months, their supply of steel used up. They laid off 200,000 more workers. Other industries let go some 50,000 others. In early October, President Eisenhower stepped in, expressed weariness at the unbending attitude of both sides.
I'm not going to try to assess any blame, but I'm getting sick and tired of the apparent impasse in the settlement of this matter. And I think so are the American people.
A week later, he invoked the Taft-Hartley law to force the workers back on the job for an 80-day cooling-off period. The union challenged the injunction for the first time in the law's history, appealed it all the way to the Supreme Court. But the court ruled against the union, upheld the injunction. The steel mills resumed operation in mid-November, but took 6 weeks to attain maximum production. Negotiations at year's end remained in stalemate.
US Steel maintained the labor policies of Andrew Carnegie, which called for low wages and opposition to unionization. The Amalgamated Association of Iron and Steel Workers, union that represented workers at the Homestead, Pennsylvania plant, was for many years broken after a violent strike in 1982. US Steel defeated another strike in 1901, the year it was founded. US Steel built the city of Gary, Indiana in 1906, and 100 years later it remained the location of the largest integrated steel mill in the Northern Hemisphere. US Steel reached a detente with unions during World War I when, under pressure from the Wilson administration, it relaxed its position to unions enough to allow some to operate in certain factories. Between October 26 and October 31, 1948, an air inversion trapped industrial effluent from the American Steel and Wire plant in US Steel's Donera Zinc Works in Donera, Pennsylvania. In 3 days, 20 people died. After the inversion lifted, another 50 died, including Lucas Musial, the father of baseball great Stan Musial. Hundreds more finished the rest of their lives with damaged lungs and hearts, but another 40 years would pass before the whole truth about Donera's bad air made public health history. Today, the town is home to the Donera Smog Museum, which tells the impact of the Donera smog on the air quality standards enacted by the federal government in subsequent years. The US Steel Tower in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is named after the company, and since 1976, the company's offices take up a part of the building. It is the tallest skyscraper in the downtown Pittsburgh skyline. When the steel mark logo was created, US Steel attached the following meaning to it: steel lightens your work, brightens your leisure, and widens your world. The logo was used as part of a major marketing campaign to educate consumers about how important steel is in people's daily lives. The steel mark logo was used in print, radio and television ads, as well as on labels for all steel products, from steel tanks to tricycles to filling cabinets. It is the present policy of the Board of Directors to consider the declaration of dividends 4 times each year, with checks for dividends declared on common stock mailed for receipt on the 10th of March, June, September and December. The dividend as of 2008 was $0.30 per share. On April 27, 2007, it was reduced to $0.05 per share. Dividends may be paid by mail check, direct electronic deposit into a bank account, or be reinvested in additional shares of US Steel common stock. US Steel once owned the Northampton and Bath Railroad. The NNB was an 11-kilometer short line railroad built in 1904 that served Atlas Cement in Northampton, Pennsylvania, and Keystone Cement in Bath, Pennsylvania. By 1979, cement shipments had dropped off such that the railroad was no longer economically viable and the line was abandoned. A 1.5-kilometer section of track was retained to serve Atlas Cement. The remainder of the right-of-way was transformed into the North Bath Trail. So students, we went through the company's history to its present market scenario. Hope you must have got useful information about the company. Have a nice day. Goodbye.